This week, Foxy tried skateboarding. I'll let you see how well it turned out for him. Oh dear, time to hang up the trugs already, Foxy? I think so. It's great because now I've got an old skateboard and some maple to use for this week's project. Let's see how I got on. So it turns out that a post-it note is the perfect size to make a pendant with. And this week I'm making a pendant and I'm using a post-it note. Genius! So here I'm pointing to the skateboard to tell you I'm going to take it to the bandsaw and cut it into strips. You understood that already, didn't you? And just to confuse things, this is me cutting the maple into strips, not the skateboard. You'll see that in a second. And the reason I cut 3 was because I eventually made 3 pendants, but you only see me make 1 pendant for the video. Are you with me? You get it. The strips of skateboard I've cut have got some bounce to them. So when I clamp them up, I'm hoping that the bounce will be unbounced and they'll stick okay. Marking a line where I'll cut it on the bandsaw. You don't see it, but you get the idea. And making sure the edges are nice and parallel so that they'll stick nicely with the edges of the skateboard. Here I'm tidying up the edges of the skateboard to make a nice flat surface so that the glue will find some really good purchase. Whoop, there's the glue. Love gluing up stuff. It's so messy. Time to get some clamps on. It's not easy at first because the bend in that skateboard wants to push the blocks away from each other, but enough clamps and the help of Foxy, we get there. I feel a bit dizzy now. Right, let's get the clamps off. This is a good bit. Perfect. I've still got a large enough area to get the magical post-it note back out, remark it, take it to the bandsaw, cut it up, and now I'm going to show you the jig I made for my first off-centre turning. I used a design by Andy's Cornish Creations, but I changed it and popped in some metal inserts because I wanted the jig to be reusable so I can make lots and lots of pendants. Go and check out Andy's page. He's really great and he's often at the end of a text message helping me out. Thanks, Andy! What you saw there was me hot gluing the pendant blank to the back of the front of the jig. You with me? Of course you are. You'll see that I already sanded the corners of the blank off. This just makes it a little bit less risky when you pop it onto the lathe to get it to round, because the corners can catch and it could rip the whole blank from the front of the jig. We don't want that. Here you see me repairing a little tear out with some CA glue. Just pop it on there, wait for it to cure, and you're ready to go again. You'll have noticed that I pulled the tailstock up with some scrap wood just to provide some support to the front of that blank whilst I was turning it to round. This is when it's most likely to catch or fly off the lathe. But now that I'm happy with how I've shaped it, it's time to pull the tailstock support away and get busy with tidying up the front of the blank. I push the tailstock up just for a moment to mark the centre again so I can line up my tool at the correct height. That's the front all shaped, but now it's onto the sanding. Here you see me turn the lathe down. That's something I really enjoy about having the Coronet Herald lathe. It's variable speed and I can adjust it with the button. Couldn't do that on my old one, even though I did love Nessie. So here I'm just working my way up through the sanding grits and filling in that void again. It's causing me a little bit of a problem, but some CA glue and activator soon sorts that out. Now it's time to apply some sanding sealer, and once I've got that all rubbed in, I let it dry for a few seconds, and then I work back up through 400 to 600 grit. Then I go to the Yorkshire grit. Grit. I've said grit a lot. Then onto the Yorkshire grit microfine. There's that grit word again. It's good stuff, this. Really good stuff. That's the front finished, but here's the genius bit about changing the jig over to the other hole. This puts the hole turning off centre, which allows us to cut a hole where we'll put the string in to hold the pendant. You'll see what happens, but it's so trippy when you turn the lathe back on and the centre is off. I have to wait for the trippy bit. Here I'm using the tailstock again to mark the new centre, just a tiny hole so that I know where to put my tool at the correct height. Here I'm changing over to the Jacob's chuck, popping in a drill bit. Okay, so there's the trippy bit. Whoa! Now I use the drill bit just to make the hole initially, and then in a minute I'll tidy it up with my carbide tool. That's it, the hole's ready. Now we go through the same regime with the sanding sealer and working our way all the way up through the grits, right up to the 2 lots of Yorkshire grit. You want the hole in the middle to have the same finish as the outside of the face of the pendant. Done! Now's the difficult bit, to try and prise the blank off the hot glue. With a little bit of wiggling, you get there eventually. Just be careful you don't snap it when you take it off. I clean up the back of the pendant by rubbing it on some coarse sandpaper and then some finer sandpaper, and apply a little bit of Yorkshire grit to the back. Then take it outside and I spray it with some clear acrylic lacquer. Pop in the leather cord. Are you feeling sleepy? Nope, still got more video to see. But there it is. A skateboard pendant. Oh, I also made one with some burr and some resin. As always, thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. And remember, stay foxy. And I'll see you next time.